Dad, you got a box.
I got a box.
I-
Let's see what's in this bad boy. Yep. Oh, look at that. Swag from friends in the industry. Oh my gosh, it's so awesome. Love it. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Trey Griggs here, Beta Consulting Group, and you're here for episode 113 of Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership powered by Beta Consulting Group. We are so excited that you're here. Hopefully you had a great weekend out there. If you missed this morning's episode of Iron Minds, you may want to go back and watch that or listen to it on audio podcast with my friend Hayden Allred and myself. We had Samantha Jones on the show. She was talking about her new opportunity, as well as the HIT class she's going to be leading for us in 2 weeks on Iron Minds at 6 a.m. every Monday morning. It's a great chance to get your mind right, get your body right, get the week started off correctly. So search for that episode 19 of Iron Minds this morning at 6 a.m. on demand at YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and right here at LinkedIn Live. So check that out as well. And again, we got an awesome lineup of shows this week. Can't wait to talk about some of the conversations I'm going to have with some great people in the industry and outside of the industry. Check this out. Today, we got Eric Krueger on the lineup. Can't wait to bring him on shortly. Tomorrow, my good friend Jason Lippert, President and CEO of Lippert Components, a $4 billion industry serving the RV sector. On Wednesday, my good friend Eric Masadi of Trailer Bridge is going to be on. He's the president of logistics over there. On Thursday, got to catch a show with Brad Reinhardt. He's a character. He's a great guy. We're going to talk about transportation clubs and all the things he's doing with that. And then on Friday, my good friend Kara Smith-Brown, she is the CEO of Lead Coverage, and she's going to be awesome. She's going to be rocking it with us on Friday. So great week of shows this week, every day, 10:30 a.m. Central. Make sure you show up here to catch great content, learn some new stuff, and hear some fun stories from some amazing people in the industry. Also, we'd love to work with you on helping you tell your story, your company's story, your branding, your messaging, your content creation. So check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com. Oh gosh, that just hit me hard. .com and check out how we're helping companies tell their stories, how a message, social media strategy, podcasting, all kinds of things, because we want to solve the problem of obscurity. If you feel like your country, your company, man, I'm struggling today. It's Monday, everybody. Welcome to Monday morning. If your company is struggling with obscurity, with people knowing who you are, you got a great service, a great product, but people just don't know who you are, that's what we're doing. We're helping companies get out of obscurity. So check us out there. Fill out a form. We'd love to work with you. And while you're there, you might want to check out our swag store. We got some new merchandise this weekend on the swag store. So make sure you go over to shop.betaconsultinggroup.com. You can also get there from the website. And you can find all kinds of things like polos. We got a new bucket hat on there. We've got a pullover. We've got great standing out items, coffee mugs, water bottles, t-shirts. We got hashtag lineup of shirts. You know, the Be Excellent Todays and the Finish Strong Fridays on there as well. And we got some new hats on the way. They're coming. They're not quite there yet, but they're coming. These hats will be there in just a matter of a few weeks. So very excited about that. So check that out. And be sure to use the coupon code BETA-GO to save 30% on your entire order during our grand opening right here in the month of July. Super excited about creating a community of people pursuing excellence. We want you to wear the swag, have a great time with it, show it off, and we're excited about that. So thank you for being a part of our community here at Be Excellent Today Alliance, the Beta Consulting Group Alliance. All right. Now, lastly, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, TAS. These are the good guys in freight factoring, helping carriers keep those wheels turning on the road. Check them out at TAS.com or click on the link that Morgan's going to put into the comments to go directly to my landing page and get started with them. Whether you're a carrier, owner, operator, freight broker, you can work with them and keep this country moving. We appreciate that. And if you're behind the wheel of a truck, thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and bring on our guest. I can't wait to bring this guy on. I've had a chance to meet him about 3 months ago and just knew there was something different about this guy and had the chance to hang out with him a little bit as well, starting with his company and what they're doing in the space in the transportation industry. So everybody, please welcome to the show, the CRO from Navix, Eric Krueger. Eric, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Trey. I'm good. How are you?
Man, it's good to have you on the show today. How's everything up in Minneapolis, Minnesota?
You know, it is quite a glorious Monday morning. We started at about 58 degrees. We finally got some rain, and it's Monday. I mean, so what can you complain about, right?
That's right. And summers in Minneapolis are pretty stinking spectacular. I mean, with the lakes all around and just everything up there. I had a chance to be up there. I guess it was 3 weeks ago now for the
It
3M
was 3
championship.
weeks.
The
It was 3
311. I
weeks.
know,
Yeah.
gosh, it goes so fast. But the weather was beautiful, super green. I know your golf season's super short up there, but the golf
Yeah,
course is
unfortunately, but it also allows you to get out and, for the rest of the year, when it gets a little colder here, you can go explore some other golf courses, which is kind of nice. So,
Are you an ice skating? Are you an ice fisher? What other things do you do up in Minnesota? You get out in the winter?
I would say the main thing we do up here is, just a lot of lake walks. So the lakes freeze over. We do a lot of walking the dogs out on the lakes, which is just awesome. It's like think of a giant dog park, and the dogs can just run free and wild. In addition to that, we do a lot of snowmobiling and downhill skiing, which is kind of the other thing here up in Minnesota.
I've heard snowmobiling is just
so.
Yeah, I've heard snowmobiling is just sick. My friend Dan Deegan is a big snowmobiler up in Toronto, up in the Canada area.
It's pretty fun. I would say it requires a large capital investment to get into it, but once you're in it, it's a good time.
I have to admit, I've never walked on a lake. That whole idea just seems odd to me. Never done that. Do the dogs slide when they're running around? Is it that kind of thing, or is the snow kind of packed and
It depends. It depends on the year. Some years you get just the glare ice, and it's a little sketchy to walk out there because you could slip yourself and the dogs slip. Other times you kind of hope for the ice to freeze over enough, get thick enough that when the next snowfall comes, it sticks to the top so that at least you get a little traction. Other times it might just be glare, and then you get a powder snow on top of it where it's really cold, and then it makes it like extra slippery because you don't realize that you're going to slip when you take that step or try and turn. So
there's a science to this all.
You should come up here.
Well, I'm gonna have to, since I've never done it. I'm gonna have to make that. But the idea of flying to Minnesota and like, can you have how do you stay warm out there fishing?
I would say most of the time you either you go to and actually like rent one of the nice ice houses where you have a heater in it. Otherwise, you hope for good weather and
and that's where you drive on. You're not even walking.
Otherwise, your hands freezes. You're sitting there trying to put a bait on the hook or something along those lines.
That whole thing sounds terrible. Yeah. And you're driving on it at that point, right?
I'd say pretty much in January once you get about 8 to 10 inches, you can drive on it. So
I need to come up. I need to get the driving and the ride.
Not my favorite thing to do. I mean, I'm Minnesota born and raised, and I would say as comfortable as I am with it, I also it's not I don't desire to drive a car on the lake.
Yeah,
that still doesn't give me the warm fuzzies.
Yeah, I wouldn't say warm fuzzy either all, but we might have to do it just to say I've done it. Maybe we'll document it. That'll be fun. That'll be good. All right. So Eric, you are the CRO at Navix. First of all, for those maybe don't know a little bit about you, just talk a little about yourself and what you guys are doing over at Navix.
Yeah. So just to talk a little bit about myself, and then I'll transition over to Navix. I've spent just over a decade in sales, both in direct selling and leadership and management. Really primarily spending most of my career deriving net new go-to-market strategies and identifying areas of opportunity for us to go from a SaaS business perspective. When this opportunity came up, I thought this is a perfect fit, right? Kind of a net new space, a net new challenge to tackle, and I pride myself on being able to really understand customers' needs and kind of where the value lies, and that really kind of opened the door here with Navix. And so I've been with Navix now for just shy of a year. But I would say the thing that Navix is really building is we have an idea or our solution was created out of a 3PL, right? And so we had a partner 3PL that really came up with what we call our prototype of our product and our platform. And from there, we've been able to go out, litmus test this, right? Go out and talk to many other intermediaries, brokers, 3PLs, understand, does this problem repeat itself, right, throughout the industry? And if it does, and if you talk to 10 potential prospects and you hear that 8 out of 10 times that this is a need or could provide them immense value, well, that seems like a pretty good market fit for me. Right. So we started building Navix just about a year ago, and we primarily solve back office workflow automation. That is primarily what Navix is solving in the marketplace. It kind of expands from, anywhere post order execution, all the way down to paying the bills actually to the carriers. And I'd say, anywhere in between there is probably a place that Navix has a fit. There's definitely parts that we don't, and there are definitely parts where we understand that that's a TMS function, or that's a rating engine function, or other types of solutions out there. And we really want to stay core to what we want to solve in the marketplace, which is really that, kind of back office workflow automation platform. So that's really what Navix is solving. And we primarily are working with 3PLs and brokerages. So we're not actually going out to, shippers directly, and we're not actually engaging directly with carriers. So it's primarily in that intermediary space. And that's, a huge value to them, because they're having to deal with both ends of the spectrum, right? On both the customer side as well as the carrier side, and trying to connect the dots to streamline those processes internally.
Yeah, and this continues to be one area that is a continual problem. It's a continual struggle to get back office automation correct. And anything that you can automate, you should automate. It saves everybody time. But it seems like there just haven't been the greatest solutions out there to really solve the problem long term. There've been some solutions that came in and did part of the problem, but they haven't come in and taken care of the whole problem. And so that's exciting.
Exactly. And I would say the one thing that is so unique about this industry is when you get into the service type and the different modes, right? The complexities vary dramatically, and they're so different, right? If you're doing full truckload, the main challenge we hear on a day-to-day basis is, I need my proof of delivery in order to invoice my customer, right? So how do we speed up the process of getting that proof of delivery and collecting that proof of delivery? On the LTL side, right? Vastly different.
Right.
It's accessorials. Was the class correct? Is the weight correct? Did I need a lift gate? Right. And the discrepancies that actually then come in on the bills are widely varied, where in full truckload, you don't see many discrepancies. You see more of that document requirement. So there are a lot of different things that you see, and going through the different modes, it only increases complexity. So as intermediaries work with their clients and they add, additional modes of transportation and or other services that they're providing them, well, a lot of times they aren't well versed in that, let's say, that new mode or that new service type, and therefore they don't understand the complexity when entering it. And so sometimes they bring in an internal individual that might know the space, but otherwise, a lot of times they try and fit the same process into the same box or the same workflow that they had previously. So
yeah, and there aren't too many more areas of a business more critical than getting paid, than getting paid correctly.
Exactly.
Sure that the revenue that you're getting is correct and they can be made
Yep.
whole. So I love the fact that you guys are doing that. I'm excited to see where that goes as a kind of a new entrant in this space and creating a new solution and creating awareness around that. So that's very, really, really exciting. Let me ask you a question about your journey into Navix and leadership.
Yeah.
So you said you've been in sales for the majority of your career. Now moving into a leadership role as CRO, where you're overseeing sales and marketing and going to be building out a team eventually and just all those types of things. What are some of the things you learned along the way that helped prepare you for this? And when was that moment when you're like, yep, I think I want to be in leadership. I think I'm ready for this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Trey. So I'd say, I think I always had the aspiration when I started my career that I knew I wanted to be in leadership. I actually, I'd say that's probably one of the, you go through all those different qualities and skills tests that you fill out throughout the years. And whether you're applying for a new job or even internally, you kind of do those as like those team building exercises to understand your peers a little bit better. I always have scored immensely high on leadership and strategic vision. And so why do you
think that is? Let me ask you, why do you think that is? Have you a chance to think about it?
I have no idea. I think a lot of it would be really tied to, I had a lot of leadership roles all the way through school, and I was always willing to kind of step forward and kind of take it by the reins, right? I guess in terms of being willing to put myself out there and take that leadership role or that leadership opportunity. And I think that just has kind of continued to grow in my own career path and my own individual growth. And I think when I stepped into, let's call it the sales and marketing career, I think you always have to start by doing the job and being good at doing the job. And then there's always this transition that is sometimes challenging for individuals. If they've been a top performer as an individual contributor, sometimes they're not the best leader, right? And it really is hard.
Say that again for the people in the back.
I mean, that's probably one of the best known, challenges in sales leadership is your best performers are not always going to be your best leaders. And unfortunately, it seems to continue to repeat itself where those are the folks that are the ones getting promoted and are getting moved up. Luckily, I was a top performer, and now I'm also been let's call it a successful leader thus far. And everyone has their hiccups and their learning curves, but I would say that the biggest thing that I've seen as I've transitioned from that individual contributor model to now my leadership roles, it's really about how do I make everyone on my team just as successful, if not more successful than I ever was, right? How can I take all of my learnings, all of my processes, all of my gumption to get them just, in the same bucket to be just as successful? And if I can't do that, I'm not doing my job, and I'm not, helping them grow, helping them understand where they want to go in their career path. And I think similar to you, Trey, and some of the things that you've been building over there at Beta is you're happy and extremely excited to watch your team members grow and have those opportunities to move up, move out, go find their own other opportunities in the marketplace, right? As much as I want my best performers and best individuals to stick with me, I also want to see them go out and venture and find some of the best opportunities to make them successful as well, right? And that's, I think, having that openness and that empathy and willingness to kind of challenge and push some of the individuals I've worked with. They then trust me back in that sense of willing to share things with me, willing to give me positive and negative feedback. And it's just really a kind of an open bridge for communication. So yeah, I'd say that's been my leadership style. So
that is so good, Eric, what you just said. I want to unpack some of that because we just talked about that this morning on Iron Minds with Samantha Jones. She's a top performer at ArcBest. She just now went to a new opportunity. That is a great opportunity for her. And ArcBest did such a good job of handling that situation and encouraging her and supporting her in that. And it's only going to come back in ArcBest's favor, right? That they did that they had that attitude. And having that attitude where you really want your people to succeed is hard, because it means you might lose them. Yep. But if you really care about people, you're okay with that. You figure that out. And I believe it comes back in spades when you are fully supporting and investing in your people and wanting them to do well. Even if they do leave, you don't think they're going to tell people, hey, you got to go work with Eric because he helped me get here. Yeah. And I just think the long game, when you play that, it always works out in your favor. And I love your attitude on that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's paid dividends even for my career, right? And I'm able to say that and say that with the utmost let's call it honesty, is that I've had people that have left me, I've left them, and guess what? They're some of my best mentors and best individuals that I can still bounce ideas off of. And they call me about, in the past, they've called me about other opportunities that have come across their plate and said, hey, you should talk to Eric Krueger. And they've given me a heads up about that. And I've done the same, right? Like if something comes across my desk, I'll be happy to pass it off to a number of peers, another number of individuals that I've worked with in the past. And, even if it maybe were an individual on my own team, and I thought that they were maybe not necessarily really kind of looking for that next opportunity, I see no reason why I wouldn't, encourage that for them and say, hey, maybe this could be something that you'd want to look into. I don't see where that comes to bite you. I think if you ultimately lose a majority of your team in the matter of months, well then,
that might be quite challenging. Something wrong. There may be something wrong going on. But no, I think there's a lot to be said about that, because it moves away from fear and moves towards like empathy and joy, of actually seeing people succeed. Yeah. And to me, that's just a much better way to do business, a much more enjoyable way to do business. Marcelo, thanks for watching the show. He said he likes what you're saying, needs to catch the replay. Absolutely, Marcelo. You can catch all episodes on replay on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Thanks for jumping in today from Atlanta, Georgia, from the Dirty South, from ATL. I want to unpack something, Eric, real quick, that you said earlier, because I think this is important. you said your best sales producer is not always going to be your best leader. Now, it's not always true because in your case and others, I've seen it happen, but it's rare.
Yeah.
I would say it's rare. I want to unpack why that is. When you think about the skills and the attributes that make someone a high performer in sales, the typical skills, the kind of the stereotypical skills, and then the skills that make somebody a really great leader, what are the things that a company should look for in their performers or producers to find the best leader moving forward? Keeping in mind that it might be your third or fourth best producer. It might not be the top one.
Yeah. So actually, this is one of my mentors gave me this advice at one point in my career, and it really made me evaluate. It was as I was, kind of, let's say, in teeter-tottering back and forth between it, going down more of the strategic individual contributor route versus moving into leadership, because they are two different paths, both very successful opportunities and careers, but two different paths. And the number one thing that he said to me was, Eric, like, the biggest challenge you're going to have in being a leader after being a very successful top contributor is you're going to have to be able to swallow the fact that not everyone on your team is going to be able to perform and or think in which the way you do as an individual contributor. And you're going to have your A players, your B players, and your C players. And you're going to have to be able to swallow your pride and frustration with your B's and C's in order to ensure that you're not out there telling them that this is a better way to do it or how they should be doing it because of let's say, your experience as being a top performer, and getting frustrated as why you don't understand why they don't want to be the top performer, right? I'd say not every sales professional or individual wants to be the top performer, and that's okay. But you also, as a leader, need to recognize that and not get frustrated and not get infuriated by the fact that they aren't doing, let's say, maybe necessarily what you would have done in their shoes, right? And so I think it's that was kind of the big aha moment for me. Was I had to kind of swallow my pride and realize that I can give them the tools, I can give them the motivation, I can help coach in any way possible, but really at the end of the day, I can't get frustrated by it, that they might be, let's say, take a different approach to something than what I had done or would have thought to do. And that also cultivates creation and allows team members to actually come with net new ideas, and maybe it helps all of us get better at the end of the day, which I think is extremely important. And I would say that was probably the biggest moment from my perspective, that I felt as a top performer moving to a leadership role, you just have to be able to move away from yourself and move away from what maybe you had done to be a top performer. That was probably the most important part.
That's great advice. And it's challenging because, like you said, not everybody's going to think the way you do, and most likely won't think the way that you do. I mean, it's kind of the way it's going to work out. But when you're leading people, there's really two options. Either people are going to be better than you ever were, and you've got to cultivate that and keep pushing them towards greatness. I think of Steve Kerr coaching Steph Curry. Steve Kerr was a great shooter in the NBA. He had a great career. He was a world champion. I think he may have been a three-point shooting champion at some point at the All-Star game and stuff like that. So he had a great career. But then he's coaching Steph Curry, and he has to coach him a little differently because Steph Curry does things that Steve Kerr would never have done. Yeah. But he's really good, right? But then you have the other players that, like you said, the B's and C's that might not have the desire. You got to figure out what their why is. Maybe it's a talent issue. Maybe it's a motivational issue. Maybe there's something going on there, and trying to figure out, okay, does this person still fit on our team? Are they a good fit for us culturally? Maybe they're really good at helping everybody do better work, and that pulls away from their sales, and they like that because their why is to help everyone around them. That might actually be your best leader moving forward. Is the person who's looking around helping everybody else out because that's the way that they think, right? Leadership, it changes everything. When you have the option between doing something yourself or teaching someone else how to do it, you have to be okay with the process of getting better. They're not going to do it as well as you right away. They might not pick it up quite as fast, but maybe down the road, they're going to be great and creative and do something really great. So the skills for leadership and the skills for just producing, vastly different. I think sales producers have to understand if they're going to go into leadership, the priorities change. It's no longer about me and what I can do. It's now about my team and what they can do. And I've got to help them get it done. That's a big switch for some producers, some sales producers.
It is. And I actually, I associate this. I go back, quite a few years, and I look at, so in high school, I ran cross country and track and field up here in Minnesota.
Yeah, cross country in Minnesota.
I was never our top performer. I never was. I was always middle of the pack. But guess what? I ended up in both sports my senior year being elected as a captain. Okay. And so I was technically classified as one of the leaders of the teams. And, when I look at hiring, when I look at other individuals, and a lot of folks in sales come from a sports background or some sort of competitive nature background. And, sometimes I would say the same thing bodes there, right? You're not necessarily always looking for, were they the standout? Were they the all-star? You're looking for, in identifying leaders at least, you're looking for the individual that was still identified as a leader or kind of put themselves in the position to become the leader, maybe not by their own choice, but just being voted by their peers. And why was that? Why were they voted into that bucket? And why did they get that opportunity without necessarily having to be the top performer, right? And so that actually, when I have a lot of interviews or conversations with candidates, that's one of the things I try and really derive is like, how are you looked at by your peers? And how are you, I don't care if you're always the top performer. I care about, what's the culture, or what's the motivation that you're trying to drive? How do you bring others together, right? And that, I think, helps you when you're hiring or looking for individuals, identify, are they going to be, a really good just individual contributor for me until we maybe talk about other opportunities down the road, or are they, possibly going to be on a fast track to a leadership? And would I love to have that individual as a sales manager the next day, because I just know that they'll be able to bring people together, right? Yeah. They might not be the best at the individual contributor job, but I know they'll be able to bring people together.
Yeah, it's critical to identify those qualities, and then to invite people and identify future leaders, invite them into leadership, intentionally train them in leadership. In fact, tomorrow's conversation with Jason Lippert is going to be amazing. He runs a $4 billion company called Lippert Components, and he has an intentional leadership program throughout his company, which is phenomenal. Can't wait to talk about that. Yeah. But it's really critical to identify leaders and bring them in and move that direction. Okay, I got a quick cross-country story. You ready for this? So I ran cross-country in high school, hated every minute of it pretty much, except for the meets. But I had to do it because my dad required me to play sport, and I was only 4 feet 10 inches tall, so football was out. I had no soccer skills, so therefore it's cross-country. But one year, my sophomore year, I decided I was going to go out with the leaders because I was not the fastest runner. But I didn't even tell coach about this. I just made up in my mind, I'm going to go out with the leaders and see how long I can keep up with them. Probably the dumbest decision. Don't do this, people. Listen, if you're in a race of any kind, don't go out with the leaders if you've not already, one of the leaders. I went out, I ran a 5 minute and 12-second mile, my fastest mile ever. I was sprinting. I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are sprinting, right? I mean, I'm sprinting for the first mile. I got a 5:12 mile. I ended up having a slower time for the 3 miles than my typical race because I went out with the leaders. It was pretty amazing, but cross country is brutal. Brutal. Yeah.
That's actually kind of a funny story because that's how our high school track and field and cross country teams were coached. And then as soon as I transitioned into college, we had a completely different approach. And there's a New Zealand runner, Arthur Lydiard, that our coach kind of looked at as the mentor. And that methodology completely changed. The whole idea was to go out slow and negative split. And really, that was always the goal. And we kind of worked on it throughout the entire course of the season until we got to our championship races or our, regional races. And that was where you're trying to understand how slow you could go out, but then or how fast you could go out and still just negative split maybe by 1 to 2 to 3 seconds, right?
Just constantly get faster and faster. Exactly.
Yes. And so that's how you could maybe learn from your body about how far can I push it, and how comfortable, can I be going out in the first half of the race, or uncomfortable can I put myself, in the second half of the race? Because that going out fast and getting about, let's say a third or half of the way through the race, and you're like, are you kidding me?
Right,
I have to keep going. It's hard to.
I'm pretty
It's
sure I
hard
did a
to keep those speed up.
5:12, and then I think I did like 6:30, and I think my last mile was almost 8, which is terrible in high school cross country. Like it's bad.
Yeah,
I mean, I was just crawling at that point, just trying to get across. But
yeah,
anyways, good fun. So I didn't realize you're a cross country guy. So fun stories about that.
yeah.
Well, Eric, listen, we're at 30 minutes, man. I tell you, this time always goes really fast. We could talk about a lot more than just this. But I appreciate you being on the show. I hope you'll come back and see us again soon.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Trey. I appreciate it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody else out there, I hope you have a great week. Come back tomorrow, episode 114 with Jason Lippert of Lippert Components. It's going to be an awesome conversation. And we got a great lineup the rest of the week. So again, thanks so much for your time, everybody. Have a wonderful day, wonderful start to your week. And we'll see you guys right back here, 10:30 a.m. Central every day for another episode of Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, leadership. Eric, thanks, man. Appreciate it.